Keep your comments coming through right the way through until 12 o'clock. Big story this today. Let's talk to Mal Fletcher, who is a social commentator. Welcome, Mal.
Good morning, Mike.
And do you think the junior doctors will continue to get public support, whatever and however long this carries on for?
Well, I think you've touched on the biggest problem in the whole thing there, Mike. I mean, ultimately, for the doctors and for us, their clients, it is a problem of perception, and that has an impact beyond today, right into the near future. I mean, doctors have the same right as anyone else to withdraw their labour, but we do place them in a very special place in society. We have an unusually high regard for doctors, essentially because we see them acting out of a sense of duty rather than personal entitlement. At the moment, I'd suggest they're the only profession, or one of the only ones, that hasn't suffered from what I call the great trust deficit in British society since 2007. In fact...
Are you talking about bankers now?
I'm talking about bankers, MPs, the press and media have been affected, the police and courts were affected in the wake of the riots a few years ago, institutional child abuse in churches has been affected. So just about every foundational institution in society has been affected. Medicos, according to a study a few weeks ago, are still among the most trusted professionals in our society. But if junior doctors and the BMA appear, and the key word is appear, to be motivated by entitlement more than duty in this thing, then that, they may join that trust deficit problem. And that means people become more internet reliant for their healthcare, and they become perhaps a little more accepting of automation technologies coming down the road when it comes to their health.
But they're always very keen to point out, aren't they, and I just spoke to a junior doctor, that this isn't just about money.
No, they're keen to do that, but the perception is, you asked me if it goes on too long, and I think if it does go on too long, people will lose some of that trust currency that they invest in doctors. I mean, look, medicos are already complaining, and rightly so, that we are becoming overly self-reliant in some cases when it comes to healthcare. We rely on online apps for diagnoses and treatment plans, for example. And the internet's useful in short-term things, but it's not so helpful in stretching our knowledge beyond a certain point. It will never replace a doctor. At the same time, we've got automation technologies coming down the pike, and doctors shouldn't assume that, I think, they can afford to be complacent. They can't assume that their grievances will always be met with forbearance by a largely supportive community. If we start to think, and it's about appearance, remember, that their sense of duty is being overcome by an attitude of entitlement, whether it's to hours worked or amounts paid for overtime, we may trust them less.
But you're not suggesting they should roll over, though, are you?
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that at all.
I wonder how they make their point, then, if they don't go on strike.
Well, I think striking is usually, in most rational arguments, a last resort. Some are saying it is a last resort in this case. The government, of course, and politicians on both sides are saying, to some degree, they're not so sure that that's the case. I think there was something like 16 points of discussion, on 15 of which both sides agreed, and there was the one sticking point about extra hours on weekends and so on that has led to the strike. I'm just concerned. I'm not so much attacking doctors. I'm just concerned. I suppose I'm giving a cautionary note that perception is so important in these issues, and perception carries weight beyond the next 2 days, right through into the future.
OK, thank you very much, Mal. Always a pleasure. Do you agree with Mal, then? All the polls show that, at the moment, the public support the junior doctors. Depending on which poll you look at, it's around about 57%. That's come down from 63%. So the longer this dispute goes on, the support is disappearing slowly. Do you still support them? And if it goes on and on and on, will you still support them?